Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, Judge Quita Bridges. Thank you so
Good
much for
evening.
gracing us with your presence this evening. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for having me, Terry.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have candidate and judge Quita Bridges. Congratulations on your appointment.
Thank you.
Um, yes, congratulations. And our guests this evening, we can, any questions as always, please put them in the chat so our tech can get the Judge Bridges, sorry,
That's
get
okay.
Judge Bridges the questions. If we do not have time for Judge Bridges to answer all the questions, we will make sure that she gets your questions that you have asked. Um, as Judge Bridges, we cannot ask her anything, ladies and gentlemen, about anything specific or any cases or anything like that. So please, we're going to respect our guest this evening. And there may be some questions that I may even ask that she may not be able to answer. And so we're going to get started. And again, thank you so much for joining us and taking out time for your day. And you just told me that you just came from Harrisburg.
Yes, yes. We have to file nomination petitions in order to get on the ballot for the May primary. So as a Democrat, you have to file 500 nomination petition signatures, and they're
Mm.
not due until next Tuesday, the 11th. But we didn't want to wait to the last minute because anything could happen between
Yeah.
Pittsburgh and Harrisburg on that turnpike.
Exactly. As we all know. So as we get started, just tell us a little bit about who is Judge Bridges.
Okay. Okay, I am originally from Clarksville, Tennessee. I was born and raised there. I have it was seven of us total, and all of my family still reside in Tennessee. I went to Austin P State University, which is in Clarksville, Tennessee, and that's where I met my husband. I got married at the very tender age of 22. Um, Fast forward, we moved to Pittsburgh in 1993. Now, my husband, Reginald Bridges, he is from Homewood.
Okay.
So he went to college in Clarksville and then brought me back to the Pittsburgh area. So I moved here in 1993. I went to Duquesne University Law School. I graduated in 97. My first job out of law school was a judicial law clerk for Judge Cynthia Baldwin.
Hmm.
I did that for 2 years, and then I moved on to the district attorney's office. Excuse me, and I was in the district attorney's office for 16 years. I tried a lot of different types of cases. I got a lot of experience working in the district attorney's office, trial experience, and working with people on all sides of the case. So I did try, homicide cases, child abuse cases, domestic violence cases. I was also a supervisor of the general trial attorneys, where, I assisted the new attorneys in their trial preparation, trainings, reviewing plea offers, and things like that. I also managed our miscellaneous court and the ARD, which is the Accelerated Rehabilitative Disposition Court. I then moved on to the Attorney General's office. I moved there in 2014, and I was there for 10 years. And in the Attorney General's office, I was the Assistant Chief Deputy Attorney General. In that capacity, I was responsible for the day-to-day operations of the criminal division for the western part of the office. I also supervised attorneys there. I traveled to 23 counties in western Pennsylvania. I maintained a trial calendar. I was also responsible for our medical legal advisory board on child abuse. So I stayed pretty busy in the Attorney General's office. Then I decided that I needed to run for the bench.
Mm.
And so prior to actually leaving the Attorney General's office, I did apply to get appointed. I wasn't sure how many appointed positions the governor was going to issue, but
Mhm.
when they came out with the application, I applied, and thankfully I was able to get the appointment. But what I want people to know is, although I've been appointed
Mhm.
to serve on the Court of Common Pleas, and I've been assigned to the criminal division, by the way. I still, since it's an elected position, I
Mhm.
still have to run in order to keep myself in that position. It's a
Mhm.
10-year term plus retention after 10 years, but it's still an elected position. So although I was appointed, I
Mhm.
still have to run to get elected to keep to stay in the position, basically.
Thank you so much. Thank you for bringing that up. What a
Yeah.
resume. Woo!
I've been pretty busy. Yes, it's true.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have. And thank you for educating us on, even though Judge Bridges was appointed, she still has to run in this election. So thank
Correct.
you so much for educating us on that as well. Um,
Yes.
so can you share with us what would be one of your top, one or a few of your top priorities if you're elected?
Um, I really just want to make sure cases are heard in the most efficient time frame as possible. I think one problem that we have a lot of times in the criminal division is that cases get postponed frequently, and it's a characteristic that's very embedded in the criminal system in Allegheny County, postponements. And so I really want to try to be better at moving cases along, because when you continuously postpone cases, maybe the defendant is in jail. So you're prolonging the fact that that person is in jail and might not need to be in jail that long.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're also prolonging the fact that families have to deal with whatever um, crime that's been committed against their family. Now they have to come back, keep coming back to court, keep
Mm-hmm.
coming, and nothing seems to be happening. And
Mm-hmm.
also people's memories lapse after, so long, before a case gets before the court.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I really want to try to do is try to, eliminate at least the cases that are in my courtroom,
Mm-hmm.
the length of time it takes to get a case tried. Um,
Wow.
yeah, and I just want people to also know that I really have already told the staff that I've hired that I'm running on the fact that I want people to feel like they are coming to the courtroom. They're going to be heard. They're going to be treated with respect no matter what. Sometimes I think we get in the system and we're there so long, we
Mm-hmm.
forget to treat people with respect
Mm-hmm.
because you've just done it so many times and you hear so many excuses all the time that you're just very short tempered. And I don't want myself or the staff to be that way. So I really want to make sure people understand. I want people to come to the court knowing that they're going to be treated fairly and they're going to be treated with respect.
Wow, that is so
Yeah.
huge, and especially when you talked about, the postponements,
Yes.
because that people have taken off work,
Yes.
babysitters.
Yes.
That is so huge. Thank you so much for that.
Yes.
Um, my next question: what does racial justice look like for you in the criminal justice legal system?
What does it look like for me? Let me think about that. What does racial justice? I mean, this is what I hope
Hmm.
that, not I hope, this is the kind of person I will be because, I'm a person of color. So I just want to make sure that people of color are treated the
Hmm.
same way everyone else is treated. And I want to make sure let's just say their sentence, if they're convicted of a crime, is consistent with other people that are not of the same complexion have received for the same kind of crime.
Hmm.
um, I want to make sure also that people, where restoration is appropriate, let's do that because I do believe good people sometimes make bad decisions. That doesn't make them a bad person. So I want to make sure that, I'm very conscious of that and whatever background that they come from, maybe, if they've dealt, had poverty in their lives or whatever it is that has caused them to make the or commit the crime that they've been accused of committing. Not to say that they've been convicted, but they've been accused. Like, can we restore that person? So, I want to make sure that racially, that people of different races just receive the same treatment that anyone else would receive.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. So when it comes to alternatives and the alternatives of incarceration to
Mhm.
incarceration, what are some ideas or some thoughts on alternatives instead of incarceration?
Okay, so let me think of some alternatives. Um, you know, of course, we have the various courts that deal with like veterans court. We have
Mhm,
that. That is an alternative to incarceration because sometimes whatever the crime is, maybe the sentence would cause them to go to jail or
mhm,
prison. But because they fit into the category of a veteran, you can allow them to get a lesser sentence, which is, a probationary sentence, so
mhm,
that they can address some of the reasons why they actually are in the system. We also have the mental health court. That's another court. I'm
mhm,
sure you're
mhm.
familiar with
Yeah,
these. Those
yeah,
are
yeah.
alternatives
Mhm,
to going to jail.
mhm,
Um, and then you have to give people sometimes just counseling
mhm,
services,
mhm.
making sure that they, go to counseling if they are domestic violence defendants, making sure they get anger management counseling as opposed to jail. So, I mean, our system, we do have
Mhm.
some alternatives programs so that people don't have to go to jail. And I think that those are good where it's appropriate, depending on, of course, the crime.
Yeah, I'm so glad you tapped in on the mental health court because I know several very close friends, family or friends of mine that have went through the mental health court and it actually works. And I don't know if other states do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do other states have
I,
drug
I'm
court, mental health court? I'm sure.
Well, other states do have them because sometimes, and I'm not going to say which states because I don't know, but a lot of
Yeah.
times the courts will piggyback or we go to various conferences where we learn about what other states are doing, and then we try to implement those things in our courts. We are going to start, and it hasn't started yet, but we're trying to do a court where people who have like they have mental health, like they're not able to go to trial because like
Mm.
they have a mental health issue. So we're trying to have a separate court to deal with people who have
Oh wow.
not the mental health court people, but the people literally who cannot they don't have the capacity to go to trial at the time.
Yeah.
So that's up and coming. That's new, and I haven't gotten fully abreast on how that's going to work, but we can look forward to that happening.
Oh, that's good to hear. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you for that. You hear that, ladies and gentlemen? We got it first right here. All right. My next question, and a lot of my questions, at least three of my questions you have answered.
Oh,
And
sorry.
no, that's okay. That is okay because one of them was, do you believe that all citizens have adequate access to legal help and aid throughout the legal process? If not, what can be done to provide wider and better access? And you tapped on it when you were saying, everybody deserves the same
Yeah.
treatment or the same level of care
Yeah.
inside of the courtroom. So you tapped in on that. Do you want to share a little bit more, or
Well, let's see. Let me think. I the well, of course, are you talking about having access to attorneys? Is that where you're?
yes, like having adequate access to attorneys and
Yeah.
to now I know that our public defender's office does an amazing job. I
Yes,
do
they
know
do.
that. I really
Yes.
do know that they up their game. They got some different like parts of programming they're doing and
Yes.
everything. So I do
Yes.
know that.
Yes.
But just to tap in on if something in a courtroom, what can a judge do something to stop the process of someone having inadequate legal representation.
Now, so you're not talking about not having the money to have
Correct.
representation. You're saying that someone who is not being properly represented?
Correct.
Hmm, that's a good question. What can a judge do? Well, I mean, a lot of times, judges will call counsel into chambers. A judge cannot tell an attorney how to represent, a particular
Mhm.
defendant. Sometimes I have seen judges, and I haven't not had this opportunity. They will sometimes give attorneys a little bit of knowledge about what they
Mhm.
should do, but they are not really required to do that.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not even, nothing is coming to my mind right now where an attorney has just so misrepresented a client that a judge has stepped in. I'm not really, I don't really want to opine on that because I am not sure what the answer should be. I thought you were talking more about financially not able to represent, but people are able to go to the public defender's office. And sometimes there's a conflict even with the public defender's office, and
Mhm.
they appoint counsel um, in a different way. So um, I also think that there are other programs, and I may be getting way off base, but there are also other programs within the Bar Association where I believe there's different firms that have attorneys that do pro bono work so
Mhm.
that they can also get in the courtroom and assist indigent clients with whatever their legal needs are. So, but when it comes to misrepresenting um, clients, I'm not really sure how I'm going to deal with that one yet.
Okay. Well,
I mean, a client can always go to the disciplinary board, of course, if they feel like their attorneys didn't do something
mhm.
properly. And of course, there's always appeal procedures that you can do if you believe your lawyer has not adequately represented you. There are post-trial motions that can be filed.
Yeah. Thank you,
Mhm.
Judge Bridges. So while we're on that, what Judge Bridges, when did the passion? I know when when we first started, you had said, when you had decided to run for the bench.
Okay. Mhm.
When did the passion? What was it? Something that happened that made that decision, or when did that passion say this?
Okay. That's a good question. Now I can answer that question.
Okay.
Okay. So people have always told me that I should run for judge. Like defense attorneys, prosecute, everybody has always told me. I never wanted to do it because I really didn't want like the political, and it's not supposed to be political, but
Mhm,
it
mhm,
really is to get to it. Like once you're in there, then that ceases, but to get to it, it's a lot of work politically, and I really wasn't interested in doing that. And plus I was very comfortable in what I was doing because I felt like I was good at what I did. And
mhm,
then this past summer, really watching the politics of this country happening and watching the convention, I literally thought to myself, I must do more. Like
mhm,
I'm sitting here in
mhm,
comfort and I have more to offer. So
mhm,
one morning I woke up and I said, I'm going to do this. And I have not turned back since. I said I was going to, and I know I have a lot to offer. I have the experience that's required,
mhm,
and I have the passion that's necessary. I have the disposition that's necessary, and so I decided, you know, our courts need to reflect the community we serve. I mean, I think there are
mhm.
like 43 judges, and maybe only six are elected,
Yeah.
so that's really a small percentage of, the total amount of judges we have. So we really got to do better.
Mhm,
And sometimes doing better means people like me need to step up and do better,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so it's not always that, you know, the black people don't get hired. Sometimes we don't even try.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm doing it, and I've met a lot of great people along the way, people that I never would have come in contact with, like yourself. Um, and so it's really been a great experience. It is a lot. It's not for the weak at heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's been a good experience, and so I'm very hopeful that the next few months will pan out favorably for me.
Wow. And thank you for that. Because what I heard was, you seen something, you felt some type of way, and instead of complaining about it, you got in the fight.
That's
You know,
right.
so thank you
Right.
so much for that. Thank you.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Um, if you can, what do you believe are some of the root causes for some of our high numbers of juveniles
Mm.
offenders? What
You, you know, I mean, there's so much I think that goes into it. And I really think juvenile court is a very important court.
Mhm,
We always
mhm,
talk about when judges first get elected, everybody, they put people in juvenile court. Um, that is just a very important court to be in, because if you can catch these children when they're young, then they won't be in the adult court, right? And I know it's a lot of work that goes into trying to steer children in the right direction, but I think, maybe poverty has a lot
mhm,
to do with it.
mhm,
Um, you know, Housing
mhm,
problems have a
mhm,
lot to do with it.
mhm,
Maybe just not having the direction in home that, from
mhm,
parents, maybe absent parents, just
mhm,
not being there to give you direction and to, make sure you are, doing everything you need to do as while you're in grade school and high school.
mhm,
So I think trying to fit in,
mhm,
sometimes that is a problem. Sometimes kids do things. I know my husband, he probably would hate for me to say this. Like, when he was a kid, he literally did things. He had a mom and a dad in the house. They were working parents. There was no need for him to do some of the things he did as a kid. But I think he was trying to fit in, right?
uh-huh,
Thankfully, he was able to, he didn't go too far, because she was, there to make sure he didn't go too far. But sometimes I think kids get caught up in doing things just to be a part of something.
yeah.
And so, when you can catch children early and try to fill in those gaps, sometimes it's mental health problems. It's a lot of
Mhm,
things that go into why, juveniles do what they do. But if we can, tackle those problems as opposed to just slapping
mhm,
charges on them,
mhm,
and having something follow them the rest of their lives, that's
yeah.
of course better, a better tactic.
Yeah. Wow. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you so much for that.
Okay.
And before we wrap, we're going to wrap it up in a little bit. But if
Okay.
there was one thing or one thing that can change in the judicial system, and you would have the power to do it, what would that
Ooh.
be?
You should have asked me that question before I got on, because I need to one thing. What? The one thing I guess I would want is to not have people, you know, I don't know. I don't know. Oh my goodness. One thing that I could change. You know, I don't, I really wish people could just get along better, you know?
Mm,
It's, I think our world is so divided. Our country is so divided right now that, we take that division into our workplace.
mm,
Um, and so I don't know that certainly isn't court. It's not legal necessarily related, but I really, really wish that people would just start being more respectful for one another.
yeah.
And yeah, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. Um, when it comes to legal issues, you just want people to, you just kind of want to make sure they're restored so that they don't keep coming back.
Yeah.
Um, you
Amen.
know,
Thank you. Thank you for
I
that.
don't know if that was a good answer. I might have to come back and give
And
you
hey,
a different answer.
you come back. These doors are always open. These doors
Okay.
are always open for you, Judge Bridges.
Okay. Okay.
One my last question, well, my next to the last question is, what's your thoughts on cash bail?
Well, now that's a tricky one that because those issues do come before me, and the judicial, the ethics part of the Judicial Conduct Board really want us to steer clear of issues that would come before us. And that would, even though cash bail is something that happens more so in the magistrate level
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
court, I mean, it could come before me. So I don't want to tell you something that I would do, because then,
Right.
then people have an expectation that's not necessarily accurate. I do recognize that cash bail, is inherently discriminatory. Let me say that.
Mm-hmm,
And the purpose of bail is to make sure people appear for court, and
mm-hmm.
um, you know, absent that, it probably should, there's a lot of factors that have to go into play. Um, when you're setting bail. So just know that I will be, fair even in that regard. And I do recognize the inherent discriminatory aspect of the cash bail system.
Okay.
That's
Thank
probably all I should say about that.
Yeah, no, and that's great. Thank you,
Right.
and we appreciate that.
Okay.
But before we wrap it up, is there anything that you would like to say before I asked you to let our audience know how they can get in touch with you? So, if there is there something that maybe I may not have asked you that you would like to say, or is there something that you would like to tap in on that maybe I did not even ask, or
Um,
you would like to add on, I should say.
I think you really did tap into a lot of things, a lot of questions that we generally get. I just want people to know that, I have always worked very hard. I've always been very fair in whatever type of case that I've had. And you don't have to believe me. You can ask anybody that has worked with me on both sides of the aisle. Um, so I'm going to continue to be the kind of judge that, we need in Allegheny County. And I hope to get the support of this community. And I will, it won't be something that you will say, I wish I hadn't voted for her, because I plan to make everybody proud that, I'm on that bench. And I plan to be fair, and I plan to have a listening ear, a compassionate ear. I do have to balance, justice with accountability and redemption. So I'm looking at all of it,
Yeah.
right? So I want to make sure everybody knows that I take this job very seriously, but I also understand that we have to have compassion for one another.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Judge Bridges. And now, if somebody have questions that we may not have talked about, or
Okay.
they may even want to help you campaign,
Yeah.
knock doors for you, how
Okay.
can someone get in touch with you?
Okay, so the email address, and it's long, but it's easy, is info at quitabridgesforjudge.com. And that's Quita bridgesforjudge.com.
Well, Judge Bridges, we want to say thank you so much for
Thank you.
gracing us this evening
Thank you.
with your presence. I know that you're busy. This is very busy time right now. So thank you so much for coming this evening.
Thank
And,
you.
and if there's anything that you would like to say before we say good night to the ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so honored to be on your show, and this is the first time I've done a show. So
I'm so
if
honored.
I will seem a little, I feel like I've been like chatty, but
No,
hopefully it was, what you expected it to be.
absolutely. That and some. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, let's say thank you to Judge Bridges. And with that, good night. Judge Bridges, hold on for